bought over $27,000 of men's Chelsea boots, over 50 pairs across over 40 brands, and here are the ones that I looked at. I read all the blogs and watched all the YouTube videos in terms of what the top ranked Chelsea boot is, and then I bought them all myself and tried them all on. So I'll not only let you know which one came out on top for over $200 and under $200, as well as the best everyday boot and the best for dressing up, but I'll also let you know the history of the Chelsea boot and what defines a Chelsea boot. So let's get into it. Quick disclaimer too, this is not a funded or a sponsored video. This is my opinion. I genuinely loved Chelsea boots. I love the sound they make when you walk into a room. I genuinely liked how they looked. They are easy to dress up and to dress down or to kind of style with everything. And so when I saw them on other people, I thought, hey, I'd love to deep dive into this and do my own research. And then I wanted to outsource that to you. So hopefully this helps you on your journey to get your own Chelsea boot. So first, it's probably important to define what a Chelsea boot is. And so as you can see here, there are side elastic panels on this, and that is pretty much the defining characteristic of a Chelsea boot. And so it has those side elastic panels. It doesn't have a zipper. It doesn't have buttons. It doesn't have Velcro. It doesn't have any of that stuff. And so it's that side elastic panel that's an important distinction for a Chelsea boot. And then in terms of where the side elastic panel and the name Chelsea boot came from, that was originally in 1837. And there was a designer named Joseph Sparks Hall. And he built this for Queen Victoria during her ascension to the throne as the Queen of England. And it was originally made out of cotton and wire. And then it was said that she really loved it. And eventually it got to the point where he patented it in 1840. In terms of where the name Chelsea boot came from, that was primarily because of the association with the group called the Chelsea Set. And so that included the Rolling Stones, the Beatles, and a variety of other musicians and artists and bohemian characters. Specifically, the Beatles went to Hamburg, Germany in 1961, where they saw a London band wearing the Chelsea boot, and they thought that's a great looking boot. And so what they did is when they went back to England, they went to a bootmaker called Anello and Davide, and they got a custom boot made with a Cuban heel. It was a little bit elevated and that almond or that pointed toe. And it was this rock star look. And the world started noticing that the Beatles were wearing it and that other members of this Chelsea set were wearing it. At one point, it even got nicknamed the Beatle boot. So it almost was called the Beatle boot. But because of that affiliation with the Chelsea set, it's believed that that's how the name the Chelsea boot caught on. Nowadays, the Chelsea boot is worn by professional athletes, famous musicians, movie stars, other celebrities and designers and models and whatnot. And so again, I did the boot rankings based on over $200, under $200, best for everyday use and best for dressing up. And then I did my best to look at every consideration. And so the overall aesthetic of the boot, what the construction of the boot is, do they use high quality materials, high quality boot construction. And so for example, the Goodyear welt is considered the gold standard when it comes to boot making for longevity and for resoling the boot and for weatherproofing. So that's something I took into consideration. Are they proud of where the boot was designed and manufactured? Do they share that? What was the unboxing experience? What's the height boost that you get? Is it easy to take on and off the boot? And so with all that taken into consideration, let's get into it. The first boot I ranked is the ALLSAINTS Creed. This is a brand that I really, really like. I have a leather jacket from them and some other things. They are HQ'd in London, and then the boot was manufactured in Portugal. I really liked the almond toe and the overall shape of the boot. I think what was a little different is they had some patchwork on the heel or on the back of the boot. It, I think, was intentional. I personally didn't like it too much, and considering this boot was over $200, I think you can get better value for this price range. And so I would put it in the would buy category, although it's not an A for me. Next would be the Amazon Essentials Chelsea boot. Overall, you get what you pay for. And in terms of return on energy on a boot, I think anything over 200 or around $200 is where you start to really get that differentiation on quality. This boot, I'm super surprised that they were able to put this together for around or under $40. My recommendation would be to invest in yourself, and this boot was not for me. I don't recommend this boot. The Astorflex Bitflex is unique in the sense that it was built by the same family for over 6 generations in northern Italy. And the boot itself, I thought the design was good. I thought the construction quality was a little vague. I couldn't really find out that information online. And I thought the construction felt good. So for me, I would put this in the would buy category. It's a solid boot, and the crate bottom I wasn't a huge fan of because it just gets dirty so easily. And again, this would be a would buy boot for me. Balenciaga was a little bit of a funny shoe. So I specifically tried their Bulldozer Chelsea boot, and it was definitely one of the most orthogonal or kind of out there Chelsea boots that I tried. They had a little bit of a rock star look. It was very chunky and clunky. The materials did feel really solid. The construction quality was not clear online, but it did feel high quality. It just was a little bit too out there for me. So this one was not for me, but I'd be lying if I said it wasn't fun to walk around in. Birkenstock I came into with a bias, and from one perspective, I love the brand, and specifically the Boston clog and the Arizona sandal I really like. But Rose Anvil, who's a boot influencer, also cut their Stalon Chelsea boot in half and was critical of the construction quality. And so I would agree with that. It did feel like the construction quality had more to desire. The look wasn't necessarily an aesthetic that I resonate with. It was somewhat difficult to put on, and so the Stalon from Birkenstock specifically was not for me. From Bloomingdale's, they offered a Chelsea boot. It was over $200, and it was a little bit vague in terms of where it was manufactured. It said imported. I thought that the aesthetic of the boot was fine, although I would say that this would not be for me, given that the price range that it falls within. I think you could get a higher quality boot. When it comes to the Blundstones, for me, this brand is S tier. I absolutely love them, and it's worn today by some celebrities like Kate Middleton, David Beckham, Brad Pitt, Emma Watson. This was a brand that kept coming up after asking a lot of different people. This was a brand that kept coming up. So the 510 specifically is a boot that I wear all of the time, and I do recommend wearing thicker socks when breaking in this boot, because for me, I got blisters when I was breaking it in. That said, it's a fun boot. It's a great everyday boot. I wear it in the rain even a lot, so it's versatile and convenient. I think, again, it looks good and it's comfortable and all those things. The brand is based out of Australia, and I also tried on the 063, which was more of a dressy boot, and so some of my coworkers recommended that, and it seemed to be a high quality boot. I'd put that one more so in the A tier, and then the 2250 was more of a winter boot, and so it had that fuzzy insole, and it was really comfortable. It would, again, be great for the snow, maybe even rain. That one I would put in the would buy, but it's not something I would wear every day or I would ever wear to dress up for a big occasion. From Boss, I tried on the Lisbon and the Tayil, or the Tayil, not sure how that's pronounced. And the Lisbon, I really, really liked. My friends who tried it on did too. So that was an A tier for me. The construction quality was vague for both shoes. It didn't really say how they were constructed, but the brand is HQ'd in Germany. The Lisbons were built in Portugal, and I really, really liked the aesthetic. Unfortunately, they were discontinued, and so I definitely hope that they revive these or they bring them back. The Tayil, or the Tayil, is a would buy for me. They were constructed in India, it seems, and these seem to still be available for purchase. I think the aesthetic is very solid. I have friends that really like this boot, and for me, it's within the would buy category. Just given that price range, I have boots that I prefer, but both are amazing boots. Briselblack Bootmaker. This was probably the boot that was the hardest to acquire, so much so that I actually did not get it. But after following a lot of influencers in that Chelsea boot space, this name came up enough times where I thought it was really worth including in the review. They use really high quality materials. They are based out of Indonesia, is my understanding. And then the boots almost consistently sold out. So based on that reputation that they have, I would put them in the A tier, and they wouldn't be in the S tier for me because, again, I didn't get that opportunity to try them on. And also, after looking at some of their boots online, I thought the heel tab for some of them was a little bit chunky, and so it wasn't necessarily my aesthetic, although I know you usually kind of bury the heel tab with whatever pants you're wearing. Maybe not, but this would be an A tier. Following that, we have the Bruno Marc Chelsea boot, and this was not for me. It was a very low price tag, $53. I think it's kind of fun that you could choose a bunch of different colors, and if that's your price range, then this is, aesthetically a good looking boot for that price range. And again, it falls into the category of, if you're going to be buying a Chelsea boot, I do recommend investing more in yourself. So again, this was not for me. From Carhartt, I really do love this brand, and at the same time, a wedge is a very quick and hard no for me. The aesthetic of this boot was a no, and overall the boot was a pass. Carmina is one of the best boot brands on the planet, and they are founded in 1866. They manufactured the boots that I tried, and they are HQ'd in Mallorca, Spain. And what I also found really interesting is that they offer custom fittings for boots. So maybe your foot's wider, maybe it's narrower. You can custom size the boot to your specific foot. So those are all components of the service that I thought was really spectacular. I specifically tried first the SIMPSON in black suede, which was gorgeous and had really high quality materials. They lit it on fire in the store, which I thought was kind of cool and fun and unique, and then very comfortable, easy to get on and off as well. So this was a high S tier for me. I just really, really, really liked this boot. And then I also tried their black leather boot, so not suede, more of that reflective black, and that one was perfect. It was amazing as well. And so both of these fell into the S tier for me. I absolutely love this brand. The Christian Louboutin, something I'm probably pronouncing wrong, also nicknamed famously the Red Bottoms, is a very iconic brand. And so it is HQ'd in France and then built in Italy. In terms of the Alpinosol, again, probably pronouncing that wrong, it was a little bit vague in terms of what the construction type was. So that's something I would have liked to know. Other than that, it was a very high quality boot, or it felt like one. I think in terms of the aesthetic and like the aura and vibe around the brand, that's just not something that I resonate as much with. And then in this price range, personally, I preferred some other boots. If you got one of these, I don't think you would regret it. I think it's a solid boot. So for me, it's a would buy. The Clarks, specifically the Clarkdale Easy Chelsea boot, had interesting stitching and interesting aesthetic. I didn't personally resonate with it. There was a lack of clarity around where it was manufactured, and then the overall feel didn't appeal for me or to me, and so these weren't for me. Haan is a brand that I really like. I tried their Warner waterproof Chelsea boot, and the construction and manufactured location were both vague. It was over $200. I think there are better value boots above $200. When I'm referencing this specific boot, it seems like they have some new flagship boots, for example, the Judson, and so that would be my recommendation. If you're trying the Haan, maybe try a boot that's not the Warner. Again, the Judson seems more solid. The common projects really did stand out, and when reviewing Chelsea boots, I found that these came up in a lot of the top review videos and blogs, and so it was a must try. I do really like this brand, and in terms of sneakers and boots, I see a lot of people wearing them, and they seem to really, really love them. And when I'm saying a lot of people, I'm referring to people that love sneakers and boots. You can tell it is a Common Projects boot by the embossed gold serial number on the side of the boot. And that is one component that makes them really stand out. They're HQ'd in New York and built in Italy. And then I tried the crepe sole with the sandstone coloring, and another option with a little bit of a chunkier sole. Something that did stand out is they didn't mention the construction type. My understanding after some research is that it's a Blake stitch. They did feel super comfortable. Aesthetically, I really like the boot. I liked both boots, and these would be an S tier for me. I'd like more clarity around the boot construction, and also the crepe sole gets super dirty very, very quickly and very easily. And so it would be an S tier, but it is an A. And if you had this in your wardrobe, you would not regret it. It's a good investment piece for sure. I also tried the Doc Martens, specifically the 2976. And this is one where my friends in that fashion community, they really liked and respected this boot. It seems to have a lot of fanfare, and it came up on a lot of the top Chelsea boot rankings and blogs. And so for me, this was a would buy. It's definitely a great boot, and you would not regret it in your wardrobe. It has a Goodyear welt, and it also offers vegan options, which is really unique. But again, aesthetically, it didn't completely resonate with me. One thing that does really stand out about the Doc Marten is that yellow stitching, and for some people, they really like that. Again, for me, that just didn't resonate with typically what I would wear. But if that's your style, then it's a great boot. Super good quality. It felt good. Nothing wrong with this boot. The Fear of God, this one was sick. And so I actually love this. I love this boot. And they discontinued it, and it makes me extremely sad. And I really hope that they do bring it back. They are designed in LA. Yeah, LA, and manufactured in Italy. They use a Napa calfskin leather, and it just feels like an unbelievably high quality boot when you put it on. It's got a great height boost, which was unique. Not enough boots really offered that. And it also genuinely felt like a piece of art. I'd say that about very few boots, but it felt like the amount of attention that they put into the design was special. And so I really genuinely hope that this video gets seen by them and that they bring this boot back so I can rebuy this boot and, you know, other people can buy it for them. I hope they bring this boot back. The Frye Tyler boot was not my favorite boot for this price. It was $300 and it was vague in terms of the construction type. It was vague in terms of where it was manufactured. And I think just for that price range, I would recommend a different boot. The Golden Goose John Chelsea boot, this one was deliberately outrageous. And so their whole style is something that looks like it's really beaten up. And it is a cool look if that's what you're going for. Little history on the brand, HQ'd and manufactured out of Venice, Italy. That's something that they're very proud of. The boot did feel high quality and it did feel comfortable. It's just too outrageous of a look for me, and it was not for me, so that was a pass. Grant Stone. Now, this is something that some of the influencers that I followed talked about, and they seem to really like this boot. It's based out of the USA, and so maybe that was a moment of pride for them. I'm always proud of seeing some USA boot makers out there. That said, this boot was not the most comfortable for me, and maybe that was my foot type, but it just wasn't the most comfortable for me. In terms of quality of materials and construction, they used high quality materials and a Goodyear welt. So this would be a would buy for me, but not in the A or the S tier. Gucci is a great brand. I do really like the brand. I love their 1953 horsebit loafer and the Marmont belt. They are HQ'd and manufactured in Italy, and for the Blondie ankle Chelsea boot, the unboxing experience was great, and I loved the staff at the store as well. That said, the strap immediately disqualified them, and so that was just a hard no. It immediately took them out of the category of Chelsea boot. In my opinion, if it has a strap, it's not a Chelsea boot. Again, in my opinion, it was hard to take on and off because of that strap. And it also seems like the public recognized this and the boot was discontinued. And so the Blondie ankle Chelsea boot specifically was a pass for me. Next was the Hunter Refined Slim Fit Chelsea boot. So this was a rain boot. I'll put it in the would buy category because of that. If you're not looking for a rain boot, it's not for you. From Idrese, they offered the Shadbolt. And this brand I found in some more unique rankings, and I ended up really, really liking it. So they do a Goodyear welt. They have super premium materials, an almond toe, which I always like, customizable designs, and so you can customize your own boot, which is super unique and really cool. I think in general, they just checked all the boxes. This is 100% an A tier. Similarly, the Koio Trento is also a beautiful Chelsea boot. They do a Blake stitch, they have an almond toe, they are HQ'd in New York, manufactured in Italy, super stylish, super comfortable, and they were an A tier for me. Loro Piana is a legendary brand that, in my opinion, exemplifies quiet luxury and high quality materials. And in this case, this boot uniquely did not feel differentiated. And it was $1,300. It felt hard to style, and then the construction of the boot felt a little bit like patchwork. It also seems like the Travis Loro Piana Chelsea boot was discontinued, and so maybe they recognize that, and I hope they do better in their next foray into Chelsea boots. Magnanni, and I may be pronouncing that wrong, is a luxury handmade boot maker based out of Spain. And I tried their Caden boot for $550. The aesthetic and the lack of construction clarity did not resonate with me, and it also looks like this boot was discontinued, and so this was a pass. And out of all the brands, this is the one I'm almost certain that I'm pronouncing wrong. And it was Morjas. And so this is HQ'd in Sweden, manufactured in Portugal. Goodyear welt, highest quality materials, unbelievable boot. Just super comfortable, looked super good. This was an S tier. It was unquestionable. There was nothing I could say wrong about this boot. Kind of a sleeper boot too. And so it wasn't in all the blogs, it wasn't in all the YouTubes. It was expensive to ship out here and it's worth it. So if you're thinking about this one, definitely do it. New Republic came to compete with the common projects. And so these are most commonly nicknamed the Common Project Killers, specifically the Sonoma Chelsea boot. They come with a crepe sole. They look really similar to the Common Project sand-colored suede Chelsea boot. And then they come with an almond toe. The price tag is less than a fourth of the Common Projects. This is under $200, or at least it was. It seems like the boot was discontinued, which is extremely sad. I really, really hope that they bring this boot back because I do think it checked pretty much all the boxes, and this is a hard A for me. Next would be the Polo Ralph Lauren Chelsea boot. So this was under $200. It looked good. It felt good. It's a would buy for me. I preferred other boots. I prefer to know where it's manufactured. It seemed like there's a lack of clarity in terms of that on their website and the construction style, but it's a good boot. Next would be Prada. Very highly desired luxury brand, HQ'd in Italy. What was unique about the boot that I tried is that it was kind of squared toe-ish. It was pretty big and clunky, and it also said imported, and so it was vague in terms of where they built the boot. For me, in this price range, it was a pass. It seems like they discontinued the particular boot that I bought from Prada, and after looking at their website, it seems like there are some way prettier, way better Chelsea boot options. RM Williams is a brand that came up at the top of pretty much every ranking for best Chelsea boots. They are HQ'd and manufactured in Australia, founded in 1932 by Reginald Murray Williams. There is no question that this is an S-tier brand. And kind of a fun fact as well, they're nicknamed the Hugh Jackman boot because the actor is a part owner and an ambassador for this brand. And then they also are worn widely by the Australian military for dress occasions and ceremonies. So from this brand, I tried on the Signature Craftsman and the Craftsman boot. The Signature Craftsman is made with a Goodyear welt. They're actually both made with a Goodyear welt and a single piece of leather. I feel like this is a strong differentiator for them when it comes to quality and boot construction. I feel like they both have pretty timeless design. They have great durability. They're comfortable. You can customize the width of the boot. And then for the Signature Craftsman specifically, they have 80 handcrafted processes. They sign the sole of the boot. The sole is a leather sole for the standard Craftsman. You can actually customize whether or not it's leather or rubber or a hybrid. And then for the Signature Craftsman, they essentially use higher quality materials like veal calf leather instead of yearling leather. and then it seems like the toe is different as well. And so the Signature Craftsman has more of a round toe, and then the Standard Craftsman has more of a square toe. Overall, this boot brand is S tier. The Signature Craftsman for me was an S tier boot. I also really liked the Standard Craftsman, but because of that square toe, which I'm usually not a huge fan of, I would put that in the A tier. And one last note about this brand as well, they'll get on virtual calls with you from Australia. And they were super, super friendly. I really loved their team. I really loved their service. And this is a 10 out of 10 brand, and in my opinion, a must own. The Rag & Bone Bedford is something that had a wedge, which kind of immediately downvotes it for me. And then also it was pretty pricey, so around $500. That said, I do really like the Rag & Bone brand, and they're based out of New York. The feel of the boot was good. I liked the sandstone color. The minimalistic aesthetic did resonate with me, and so this would be in the would buy category for me. Unfortunately, it seems like it's been discontinued. And so, yeah. In the working man's boot category, you have Red Wing, and they offer what's called the classic Chelsea boot. They are HQ'd and manufactured in the USA. And then they even offer a steel toe if you wanted to wear this in a construction site. So for that reason, I would put it in would buy if you were doing this for construction. Other than that, I personally don't really resonate with the wedge. I personally don't like the patchwork style of the boot, and so it's not for me. On the same thread, Redback falls within that category as well. They both have red in their name for some reason too. So Redback is HQ'd and manufactured in Australia. They offer great rugged work boots, and then again, it felt like a little bit of patchwork when it came to the construction and the stitching, and the aesthetic was just a little too clunky for me. And so if you're using it as a work boot, maybe a great work boot, although other than that, it was a pass for me. Santoni, on the other hand, they specialize in luxury, high-quality handmade boots. They are based out of Italy, and they did a great boot. They had a Goodyear welt, and it looked good. It felt good. It was over $1,000, and so for me, this is a would buy. You definitely would not regret having it in your wardrobe, and at the same time, I would prioritize other boots for the A and the S tier category. Steve Madden, on the other hand, was only $100, and you get what you pay for when it comes to these sorts of things. And so I have no hard comments other than it didn't necessarily resonate with me. I think there's an audience where this aligns better with their budget, and this is an amazing boot for that price range. I think my advice will consistently kind of circle back to invest in yourself. And if you're closer to that $200 price range for most Chelsea boots, I think that's where you're going to get a better return on energy in terms of the amount of money that you're putting in and the quality of the boot that you're getting out. And now Taft, this is one of my favorite brands for boots. They are super eclectic. And if you go onto their website, they have just completely outrageous designs in some cases. They're HQ'd out of Utah in the USA, and I tried the Stitch Down Legion Chelsea boot and the Drake Midnight. And I'm going to start with the one that I did not like more, and then I'm going to go into the one that I loved. And so the Stitch Down had some imperfections in terms of the stitching, and there were some smudges on the boot when I got it. This one was a pass for me. It was also a little bit more loud than my typical minimalistic aesthetic preference. And the Drake Midnight, I wear this more than any other boot. This is this thing is amazing. It's a Goodyear welt. It's super simple. It gets a lot of compliments. And what's also kind of crazy about it is that they discontinued this boot. And so if I could have one ask for this entire video, I hope that they bring this back. This is a hard S tier for me, and I want to buy this boot again and again. I want to break it, and I want more. So Taft, I hope you hear me. I hope you remake the Drake Midnight boot. And it's a really similar story when it comes to Tecovas. And so this is a lesser known brand unless you are in Texas. They are actually best known for their cowboy boots. They make really high quality cowboy boots. And they also discontinued a boot that I love. And so I tried on the Chance and the Luke. For me, the Luke was a wedge, and that was a pretty quick pass for me. And then the Chance, on the other hand, was a gorgeous boot. And so super high quality materials. It was a Goodyear welt. It looked really good. It felt really good. And my friend and I, who both tried this on, he actually ended up taking it, and he wore it all around Europe. He still wears it. It looks dressy. It's just a really pretty boot that unfortunately was discontinued. And so I would love Taft to bring back the Drake Midnight, and I would love Tecovas to bring back the Chance. Ted Baker offered two different boots that I tried. One was just called the Chelsea boot, and I got it on Amazon. The other was called the Wrights Chelsea boot, and the short version of my review for them is that the flat bottom option was not necessarily something that I resonate with when I'm buying a boot. I don't really like that flat bottom. I like a little bit of an authority and a heel, and it was also really hard to get on and off. It was actually the hardest out of every boot that I tried. And so that was an easy pass for me. And then the Wrights Chelsea boot also was a pass for me. I overall did not like the construction quality or the aesthetic of either of these boots. Thursday Boot Co., I'd say, is the highest value per dollar boot that you can get. And so they offer a lot of around $200 or even sub $200 boots, and I think they just do a really damn good job. This is a brand that is HQ'd in New York. They manufacture out of different locations. It seems like Mexico is a popular destination that they manufacture from. And I tried 3 boots from them. All of them were constructed with Goodyear welt, even though some of them were under $200. The first one I tried is the Cavalier Chelsea boot, which is around $200. This was an S tier. For that price range, I just really don't think you can get a higher value per dollar. It looked really pretty. Again, it was a Goodyear welt. The quality of the materials was super high, and it felt great. It was easy to get on and off. It's a really great boot. I also tried the Journeyman Black Label Collection from them, and this is their premium boot. It is not an almond toe like the Cavalier. I prefer an almond toe, and so typically I would assume that their more expensive boot would be higher quality and that I would like it more, but because it was more of a square toe and it was more expensive, I would say that the value per dollar is actually higher for the Cavalier. And so the Cavalier was an S tier, and then the Journeyman for me was an A tier. And then I also tried the Legend Chelsea boot, which was also an A tier. I think it checks all the boxes when it comes to an amazing boot. Construction quality, aesthetic, comfort, ease to get on and off. I just preferred the Cavalier, and so the Cavalier is my S tier from this brand. To boot New York, this is understandably a brand associated with New York, and they're also built in Italy. The price range was a little bit high when it comes to the competition, and so it's in the would buy category for me, not necessarily an A or an S tier. They used Blake stitch, and they came out of the box a little bit slimy, but aesthetically it looked good. It did feel good. It just was not differentiated for me for that price range. So again, it's a would buy. From Tom Ford, I tried the Alec boot and I loved it. So this was one of the very few with a square toe that I let into the A tier, and it would be S tier if it wasn't for the square toe. This is a brand that is HQ'd in New York. It was built in Italy. The height boost on the boot was differentiated. It was definitely more than the average boot, which I liked. The quality of the materials, the feel of the boot were amazing. Again, it's just that square toe. And so I love this brand. That would be an A tier. From UGG, I typically love the softness of their materials, and I do personally like the brand. And for this boot, I tried on the Biltmore, and it felt a little Frankensteinish. And so they had a bunch of patchwork instead of that single piece of leather that looks really pretty, like on the RM Williams. And it just didn't feel like they had given it their best effort on this particular boot. And so that was a pass. Now, this was my favorite dress boot. So YSL Wyatt. And if you look at this thing, it's in my opinion, it's artwork. It's worth the price tag. It's a $1,000+ price tag, but the quality of the suede, the heel, just the overall feel of this boot is spectacular. This is never something that I would break out on an everyday occasion. Kind of a fun fact about the brand, HQ'd in Paris and built in Italy. And there's no other way to say it, but this boot has aura. And so if you're thinking about betting big and making an investment in your wardrobe, I would highly recommend the YSL Wyatt. So my favorite boot for over $200 would be the Carmina Simpson in black suede. And that was very, very close to the RM Williams Signature Craftsman. Those two came pretty close. In terms of my favorite dress boot, I would go with the YSL Wyatt. I think it's a piece of art. I just think it's a very pretty boot. And for everyday usage, over 200, well actually just general everyday usage, I would go with the Taft Drake Midnight boot. And that was ranked really closely to the Blundstone 510. I think both are awesome for everyday use. And then for under $200, the Cavalier from Thursday Boot Co. is fantastic as well. So here are the final rankings. And thanks again for watching. If you liked the video, if you want more videos like this, just comment, like, subscribe. Maybe I'll do something with Henley shirts or jeans or travel or something along those lines. I can't guarantee other videos, but again, thanks. Peace.